To finish off, I'm going to kind of just bundle two tips together within this last video. So the first one is just a quick one really, but experiment with pitching your reverbs as well. So usually like octaves are going to work well. So I'm using the same reverb we had before, but now we're pitching both of those reverbs up an octave. Let's hear what we get.
Kind of energy. Thank you for the frequency. You get me in the zone. You give me something to believe.
So we've got a little bit of a harsh kind of top end there. You get the picture, it sounds kind of cool, but let's try rolling off a little bit of the high frequencies using a filter.
Different kind of energy. Thank you for the frequency. You get me in the zone. You give me something to believe. A different kind of energy.
Just want to get so it comes through a bit.
Thank you for the frequency. You get me in the zone. You give me something to believe. A different kind of energy. Thank you for the frequency. You get me in the zone.
So we just wanted to get rid of a little bit of that harsh,
Give me something to believe.
kind of high end. We could even use a mix and blend between the dry and the wet, so we get some pitch and some not.
Different kind of energy. Thank you for the frequency. You get me in the zone. You give me something to believe. A different kind of energy.
So let's take those out.
Thank you for the frequency. You get me in the zone.
Take the filter out as well.
You give me something to believe. A different kind of energy. Thank you for the frequency. You get me in the zone.
Yeah, so you get a picture. It can be a nice effect. Now, some people may have this plugin here. I'm sure there are other plugins that do this, which is a shimmer plugin from Valhalla. So when you hear shimmer, usually that refers to a kind of pitch shifted reverb. So you can see here you get shift and you've got different intervals that you can use here, up and down an octave. And this is going to do the same kind of thing. So rather than having to add a pitch shifter, but if people who don't have that, you can add it in using a pitch shifter as well. Okay, so the last tip, let's just bypass these plugins here. And let's just whack another Valhalla vintage verb straight on here. So I'm just using these buses just because it's routed that way. So we're just coming into this channel and we've got a traditional stereo reverb. But I wanted to look at the controls here, which is damping and diffusion. So damping is going to refer to the material that your spaces consists of, basically. So if you have more of a like padded material or insulated material, you're going to get less reverberation, essentially. If you have more of a tiled room, you're going to get more reverberation. I'm learning the flute at the moment. I usually practice in my bedroom, but I actually, for one reason or another, I had to do some practice in the toilet about 2 weeks ago, and it was amazing. And now I only ever practice in the toilet because it's tiled. The flute just sounds so much more resonant. It's so much more enjoyable to practice. It's kind of easy to practice because you get more back as well. So the material that the space is made of is extremely important. But damping allows you to basically determine whether, say, low frequencies are going to last longer. So if you basically turn it up, this is a multiplication of the decay time. So now you're going to get kind of double the length of the low end. So let's try that out.
Different kind of energy. Thank you for the frequency. You get.
So we can hear the low frequencies hanging around longer.
Different kind of energy.
Whereas if we have this down, they're going to be, let's say, a quarter the length of whatever the decay time is.
Different kind of energy.
So you can hear the high frequencies are now hanging around. Now we can do the same thing here. We've got a damping, like a high shelf, which is kind of like using an EQ, but it's a little bit different because it's actually more reflecting what the space consists of, what it's made of.
Different kind of energy. Thank you for the frequency. You get me in the zone. You give me something to believe. A different kind of energy. Thank you for the frequency. You get me in the zone.
And the frequency is going to determine kind of where that shelf is positioned.
Different kind of energy. Thank you for the frequency. You get me in the.
So even with a very long decay time of 4 seconds, actually using the damping controls, we can make that much, much shorter by actually dampening a different frequency range, depending on what we want. Then we have diffusion, or sometimes it can be called density as well. And this is basically how quickly the reverb kind of blooms. And we've got one here, we've got it for early reflections and late reflections. So this is going to basically determine the number of delay taps that are making up the reverb. So it's going to be much more kind of sparse.
Different kind of energy. Thank you for the
Almost like grainy sounding.
kind of energy.
Let's do it for both.
Different kind of energy. Thank you for the frequency.
You can kind of hear the individual taps there, whereas we have it all the way up, it's much smoother sounding, many more taps.
Different kind of energy.
Hear how much smoother that is?
Thank you for the different kind of energy. Thank you for the
So when would you want to use both? Well, as a general rule of thumb, I'd say with drums, you want to keep the diffusion or density control high. So you don't want to have that kind of like graininess to the drum reverb. But if it's like a sustaining sound, like strings or pads or something like that, and you want to add reverb, sometimes having the diffusion or density control reduced means that it doesn't get so overpowering. It means you've got reverb, but it's got a little bit more space to it. It's basically a density control. So if you want dense reverb, increase your density. If you want to have more kind of thin reverb, I guess, then you want to bring the density control down. That's a good one to play with. Okay, so that's brought us to the end of this video series on 10 tips of mine for reverb. I hope you got something out of the video series, and it's some ideas that you can bring into your own production and mixing. My name's Gary Holcomb, aka Get To Know, and it's been a pleasure to deliver this video series with Groove 3. Thanks for watching.